NBA draft news. Paolo Banchero shocked a few people by going number one with the Orlando Magic. We're going to talk about him and his teammates getting drafted. More importantly, we got some other ACC guys who got the opportunity to hear their name called and others who were maybe some snubs. Let's talk about that on today's show, as well as some new baseball hires for FSU.
Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, every single day, and I have a slew of co-hosts. Drizzy Drake comes on Fridays, Freestyle Friday at that. And of course, we had to let the Drizzy draft happen. We had the NBA draft going down, and a couple of our ACC stars heard their names called by Adam Silver himself. So we're going to talk about that today, as well as some baseball news. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation because we have baseball expert really right here for us. Drizzy Drake, how are you feeling, Locked On Seminoles host?
We're feeling good over here. FSU did make their big hire in Link Jarrett. My Marlins are playing really well as we speak. And the Boston Celtics did not raise up another banner. Shout out to Coach Udoka, who I know is going home to his very lovely wife. He's a very lucky man. Just he didn't lose out in the end. So
I'm just saying, and I think that, Coach, for your first year, it's not a bad gig to go to the NBA Finals, right? Like we're not crying, tears for him or Jason Tatum, who has a whole offseason thinking about ways to try to channel his inner Mamba to try and win next season. Because
I'm pretty sure Kobe texted him back to lose my number after 100 turnovers. So.
My God. Well, I think it's just very interesting before we even get to this NBA draft conversation. I just would love guys to really just be themselves, right? Like at the end of the day, I know you're trying to channel. I know you're like, have big bro who's helped you, da 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 da. Like that's good. And we look at the NBA draft, there are so many guys that like my favorite player is LeBron James, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm not knocking none of that. But make sure when you get to this league, you're yourself, because that's what people care about most, right? That's how you get your own identity. LeBron James was always LeBron. Of course, he tried to emulate, the greats, but he ended up carving his own path, as well as some other guys, right? So I think that's just a bit of, advice, big sis advice, if I'm going to give it. And speaking of big sis advice, Paolo Banchero, he's going to need all the help as he navigates these new NBA waters. First of all, can we talk about homie's outfit? Decked out in the all purple with the diamonds all around. It wasn't a fan favorite for me personally, but I would love to get your thoughts. Did you like it?
Oh, see, like, I'm the kind of person that I was telling my girlfriend this last night when we were watching the draft. I'm like, if I had money like these kids have now after all these endorsements and contracts, I'm like, I would have probably the most bold outfits. I love what my man was rocking. Purple is low-key one of my favorite colors. So,
Oh,
like, I already
okay.
was all about that. I'm like, the diamonds were a really nice touch. I'm like, damn, he's killing it. I thought also Chet Holmgren's suit
Yes, I was
was
gonna
really
say.
was dope. That was a dope
Yeah.
suit. I forgot there was one more kid that had like the diamond like velvety crushed suit also as well. I think he was like in the later round
Yeah.
in the teens. Like he was pretty dope too. But Paolo Banchero, I mean, he's got style. So his name's Paolo. He has to have style with a name like that.
Absolutely, Paolo Banchero. And when I looked at his family, that name did not fit, but like I rock with it. I rock with the whole thing. Like I did not know his dad was missing some melanin, but that's all good. Like he looks just like his mama, and that's great. I love that for them because I think where he's going to need all the magic and help as he tries to match up with Cole Anthony and company and try and make a good or decent run or have a half-ass good season. I don't know if you've seen this Cars is a they had like those cars.com or one of those things where they have these commercials where they're partnering with some of the Orlando Magic teammates or like people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had Cole Anthony driving the car with kids, and it pretty much is like a get interview. You know, you've seen on like that late night show with James Corden. And so he's getting interviewed by the kids,
Yeah.
and they're basically like, "Are you going to win more games this season?" And we are like, maybe he'll have the opportunity.
I love
He
kids, man.
was like, we're gonna try our best. But having Paolo in the conversation certainly is gonna help the matter. I think it was definitely an interesting pick because a lot of people didn't expect. So if you were on BetOnline, I'm sure you won a lot of money for that number one draft pick. But at the end of the day, I mean, Paolo's a good get either way it goes.
What's really funny is I think Paolo, me personally, he should have been the first overall pick. I think a lot of people had Jabari Smith because I think Jabari Smith is a great player in his own right, but I think Paolo for Orlando needs a pick that's a safer pick and something that's has a very, very high floor with the still had a very high ceiling. That's what Paolo Banchero is, especially with Me personally, I think he's going to be replacing Jonathan Isaac overall, actually in the rotation as being the building block for the team.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you noticed, his number is number 5. And
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was Mo Bamba's number for a little bit of time. So I don't know
Mhm.
whether if he's still going to be there or not. So I think Paolo Banchero, being with the Cole Anthony is going to be actually probably really fun to watch. And also, Markelle Fultz showed kind of like basically the flashes for being the reason why the process was supposed to be a big thing for Philadelphia. So I like the pick. I just hope he's ready to be in Orlando during the summer because you don't get the benefit of a beach breeze for how hot it gets in Orlando. My brother lives up there right now with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of hot.
Yeah, and it's so good that you brought that up because, when you look at his skill set, I think he is going to make an immediate impact. I think he has all of the basketball IQ, all the athleticism, right? And when you saw him at Duke, I think he didn't know how to be the man in the sense of he was trying to get into the brotherhood when at the end of the day, he should have just taken over. And there were times where I thought he, did too much, right? But
Mhm.
in the games, like if you listen to JJ Jackson of Locked on Blue Devils, he has some of the best analysis on Paolo and his percentages and all of those good things. So check that out. But the way Paolo was needed in big moments, sometimes he would deliver, then other times he would kind of we would remember that he was 18 years old, right? We would look to Wendell Moore Jr. for final plays, and you're like, as much as I love Wendell, who we're going to talk about here in a bit, he's not my guy when I'm looking to make final plays of games. I think
I
that was a
was
Florida State game.
Now, I would say it was
Yeah.
specifically Florida State that Paolo Banchero. I think there was a APB out for him because he was nowhere to be found for that a majority of that game, and then Wendell Moore was bringing out the ball, and then we won that game where it's like I don't know whether it was something that Coach K, was instilling because Wendell being an older player or
Hmm.
with Paolo being younger. It's like you want the ball in the hands of your best player.
Yeah.
And Paolo was that guy. And for some reason, whether he ran from it or he just didn't take it for himself, that was sort of a knock in my personal opinion because it
Yeah.
was not just a Florida State game, it was several games overall.
Yeah.
And because when he turns it on, he's locked in. Paulo single-handedly
100%.
did win some damn games. And the
Yeah.
kid is really damn good. But I think that might be the one thing with Orlando that maybe he'll be able to learn a little bit from players around him too, because he's also there with Jalen Suggs, who also probably needs to rebound a little bit from last year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think he has a great jumper. He has, he can definitely have the ISO, all that good stuff. His 3-point shot is something that can certainly improve, especially when you look at just being around the league. You're gonna need someone who's gonna be able to have those circus shots that we were seeing from guys like the Warriors. But overall, health wise, I just hope he can maintain the 82 game schedule, right? They're gonna have to figure out some load management or whatever it is, get him an IV pack, because as we remember the start of the season, which it kind of like went away because it's Duke, like he was losing like 7 pounds a game, right? And it
Disney's
was
right. Disney's right there. Disney will hook him up. Like if he needs to get a contract with them or something like that, like
yeah.
whatever gets the people that wear the outfits all day in those hot ass suits, he'll definitely be fine.
No doubt about that. So he was not the only Duke Blue Devil that got to take his talents to the next level. It was also Mark Williams, who was drafted by the Hornets. You had Trevor Keels drafted by the Knicks. And then you also had Wendell Moore Jr., who was drafted, let me remind myself here, by the Mavericks. So the Charlotte native, is taking his talents down to Dallas. And I think, not for nothing, 4 Duke players getting their names called is just a testament to who Coach K is and his legacy. And we saw the video, if you're watching the draft, of him talking about Paolo and all the impact and all that kind of thing. And I'm just sitting here saying, how? There was a question on Twitter, like, does this do more for Coach K's legacy, or does it make you question, how do you have 4 guys get their names called and you weren't able to win a national championship? You lost to a Carolina team in the Final Four, right, who all have guys returning.
I mean,
It's
the
tough.
thing is, it is tough because I'm probably not the lowest. I'm a little more critical of Coach K than anybody else that we have on here.
Hmm.
I think it's more the fact that he went to the Final Four with them kind of shows that you kind of not give him a pass was like, okay, I mean that you had a Final Four kind of roster overall going into it, and then you see UNC didn't have anyone drafted yesterday, but a majority of them came back. So we'll
Yeah.
kind of have to see next year where those players get drafted to see was that team up to snuff and actually was able to go to toe with them in the Final Four, and then it's just with, I guess, the placements of some of these kids. I know Wendell Moore. I think the Mavericks did pick him, but I think he got traded to Minnesota. I think
Mhm.
overall, and then Trevor
Yes.
Keels. Are you sure Trevor Keels is with the Knicks? Because they had like 4 or 5 trades last night, and I have no
Yeah,
idea what the
well,
hell they were doing.
from what I see here on the official NBA.com list, he is with the Knicks. Now, but that was second round. I know they were doing a lot of they were getting busy in the first round with their trades, which was really weird. Like poor Stephen A and my boy Spike Lee. They were having heart
Yeah.
palpitations during that bad boy.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine who's a diehard Knicks fan, and I had to text him. I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I'm just going through it.
Just going
I'm just
through.
used to it at this point." But
Absolutely. No, I think that overall, though, I do agree with your sentiments that, Coach K, legacy's there, four guys, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, let me tell you right now, it ain't going to be four guys getting their names called from Carolina, but I digress. You never know. Crazier things have happened. But while I'm here, if you want to get in on the odds, on the action in terms of who is going to be the 2023 NBA draft #1 pick, if you think it's someone similar to Paolo here in the ACC, you should head to betonline.net with your #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports information. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline is your continued source for all the sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all of your favorite sports. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Baseball guy, I don't know if you've seen Freddie Freeman and his return to Atlanta,
yeah,
all that stuff going down, all the love he's receiving. So shout out to him because he is a basket case. He's almost giving me Jaden Ivey energy in terms of like boohoo crying.
I will say that probably the Braves are probably my second most hated team in the history of all sports. Probably honestly first. But
Ah,
I will say I love Freddie Freeman. I
yeah,
think he exemplifies what a lot of, kids or what should watch when like to learn how to play the game and everything else when it comes to like play discipline. I love that dude. And I watched that. I just watched actually before this. I was like, damn, that he's going through it right now. Like it's
yeah,
really hard. And like the entire situation, how you feel about, him in the front office, that's sort of for a different day. I'm gonna
yeah.
side with him personally. But um it was just really, really cool to see that actually Atlanta kind of like return, welcomed him back with open arms because that man gave everything when they were bad, when they were good, and ultimately finally winning one after such a very long time. So good for Freddie.
In a World Series at that, which is pretty incredible if I do say so myself. So let's transition back to NBA draft talk here. We know we had a couple of great ACC guys hear their names called during the evening. Adam Silver called a #25 pick, Blake Wesley, to the Spurs out of Notre Dame. A surprise! It wasn't surprising that he got drafted because I think once you saw the flashes of him, throughout his time, very brief time there at Notre Dame, I was like, okay, this guy's got it. He doesn't have the pieces around him. And I think it really just speaks to guys who are saying, listen, I'm not about to stick around and watch this be like mediocre. Like, I'm all for guys just taking their chances and their shot.
And I think he's going to a place that's probably perfect for him to basically sit
Yeah.
down for a little bit. I mean, with the Spurs, I mean, with DeJounte Murray still there. I mean, as far as we know, because apparently he
Right.
is in some trade rumors. He's going
Yeah.
to be there also with Devin Vassell, who came on towards the end of last season, who basically is being probably the 3-and-D shooter guy. Like, I mean, where else would you want to go, honestly, if you're a kid like him, besides San Antonio Spurs? Maybe the
Yeah.
Heat, who were 2 picks later, and we picked up some random Serbian who, hey, Nikola Jokic is great. Let's go with Nikola Jovic and see how that works. I'm very, as I told
Right.
you before, I'm a little salty we missed out on Wendell Moore by one
Yeah.
slot.
Listen, I don't blame you one bit. I think it's very interesting that his name is literally one letter different. But hey, crazier things have happened. But why not learn from a guy like Coach Pop? I think Blake Wesley's in a great position, and have a coach like Coach Bray, Mike Bray from Notre Dame, kind of transition. Just have some guys who are really leaders who understand. It's basketball, but there's things bigger than basketball. So why not have someone as young who's still learning and very impressionable when it comes to that? You also saw Jake LaRavia, who was probably the most surprising pick for me. Sorry, housekeeping note. Didn't mention AJ Griffin from Duke. We didn't get to talk about my guy. Atlanta Hawks are going to be in trouble. I mean, not in trouble. They're going to be trouble next season.
Yeah, they're gonna be fun.
They're
Yeah.
probably going to be the highest 3% shooting team in the league next year.
I don't I already saw kind of a glimpse of that when it was just Trey doing it, but now when they add AJ Griffin, it's like, oh God, I don't want to deal with
Have
this.
mercy.
Please,
Yeah.
the Eastern Conference is gonna be a force to be reckoned with. It's gonna be kind of how the West was for the past
Yeah.
decade.
Yeah. And I think it's just very interesting to me how so many teams now it's like you live by the three, you die by the three. Like there's games where if there's just not hitting for anybody, then you're good to go. And a lot of people were saying that AJ pretty much is just like a replacement Cam Reddish. Like he's just Cam Reddish light. But I think he'll do well for himself because the only thing I think the difference, Cam Reddish had the ego of wanting to be in the game all times, be the starter, be the man. AJ's used to coming off the bench if he has to, and he's used to like I'm just happy to be here energy. So I think he'll be fine, having to work his way to be in that starting five.
And that's a talent in itself right there too. It's really hard to see. That's kind of what with FSU when you see we had I think 3 straight Six Man of the Year award winners with Scotty Barnes and Patrick Williams
Yeah.
being two of them along with Mufasa Kabengele. Like those are when you go to the league, you're gonna have to wait your turn. That's
Yeah.
just the simple matter of the fact of it because you're going from playing with a bunch of college kids to a bunch of grown ass men,
Yep.
and it's a lot to ask for a kid. And that's why we're seeing nowadays with like I think Tyler Harrow is like a perfect example of that, where basically he was Six Man for Kentucky, came to the Heat and kind of carved a nice role out there, became NBA Six Man of the Year. Now he sort of wants to ask for that full time playing role, and then Pat Riley had to remind him that hey, you can play offense, shoot the three great, but you also got to play defense. So that's one of the things that I know AJ Griffin kind of understands that, and that's something that's going to be really helpful for the Hawks team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So back to Jake LaRavia going to Memphis. He was drafted by the Timberwolves and traded to Memphis. I think that Jake LaRavia is probably one of the most interesting picks out of all the guys that we had in the ACC looking to get to hear their names called, only because of the year that Wake Forest had. The person who was the most talked about was the ACC Player of the Year, Alondes Williams, who didn't hear his name called. And so I would love to just see some draft analysis and really do research in terms of what the decision making was around that.
I mean, he's
You think
a
he's
good
just
player.
a dime a dozen? He's kind of just like, we've seen this before. Nothing impressive.
I mean, he's a kid that you take towards the end of the rounds, like hey, like he could be something like you're saying, a diamond in the rough, like people are sleeping on him. I mean, apparently some teams also thought that he was older than he was. Apparently he was listed on some recruiting scouting sites as like 22 when actually he's only 20. And then also, I don't know if you know this, but the Grizzlies traded their 22nd and 29th pick as well as a second rounder next year to move up to get LaRavia.
Wow.
So they valued him heavily. And I had LaRavia like in my own like personal like mock drafts, like my
Yeah.
betting drafts, as someone's going like in the late 20s and him going around the 19 spot. It's not so much of a reach, but they kind of paid a lot to grab a kid that he has 2 years of college experience, so maybe he's a little more ready to provide and actually improve the team now.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Maybe he's like Marc Gasol, not light, but extra, Who knows? No? Okay. That joke didn't land. It's okay. It's
It
fine.
did not land.
Hey, I'm not always on it, and I'm fine with that. So another names to mention that were not drafted, but certainly ones that were major players here in the ACC. Darion Sebron, who decided to keep his name in the draft, but didn't find a home, on draft night, but certainly will get picked up. To me, I think it's always bears the question of betting on yourself, but I'm so glad that Jaquavion Smith said, no, I'm going to keep being a college kid because I think he would have got his feelings hurt as well. Truth be told, like as much as hype as he was getting towards like the first initial conversations, I don't think he would have got his name called.
Yeah, if Darion Sebron wasn't going to get picked, he wasn't going to get picked either. And Darion Sebron actually, fun update, he did sign a contract with New Orleans Pelicans. He actually will be going there. And I know for FSU, Malik Osborne signed a summer league contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then Anthony Polite is also joining Devin Vassell over with San Antonio with a summer league contract too as well.
Nice. And was there John Butler Jr.? Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, John Butler Jr., who actually I thought had the highest chance of being drafted. But my only concern was that he was 7 foot and I think 170 pounds. So I think his frame was not there to play the NBA, to be quite honest with you. Maybe another year with a college nutrition program would have helped out. But so far, there's no reports on him right now actually being signed by anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised that maybe he hooks up with Balsa Koprivica over there in Serbia, maybe like goes overseas for a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. And then the only person from North Carolina who was not eligible to play college anymore, Brady Manick, signed a deal with the Charlotte Hornets for summer camp. Other guys that I need to check back on where they're probably going to make a summer camp or go to overseas, Buddy Boeheim, Jimmy Boeheim, Cole Swider, Kiva Luma, Isaiah Musius, Michael DeVoe out of Georgia Tech, Jericho Helms out of NC State. So those are guys who need to do my better due diligence
I
on.
got you.
There we go.
Michael DeVoe
Teammates.
got two-way contract with the Clippers.
There we go.
Swider got two-way contract with the Lakers. Alondes
Yes.
Williams with the Nets.
Look at you.
And Aluma is with Memphis.
You better do it. You better do it. I give you the list and you get to work. And that's why this is the dream team here. Okay. Period. So glad they have opportunities. Summer camp's definitely a place where you can make or break and make a name for yourself, get a two-way contract. Maybe you can get signed on a roster. A lot of things can happen for you, or you can have a great, solid career overseas, which a lot of people sleep on, but there's a lot of money to be made in certain countries. That's for sure. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts stores to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the other person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer? Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Their prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use page today and their website. Go to rockauto.com right now, right locked on in there. How did you hear about us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Please visit rockauto.com. Drizzy Drake here in the building, Locked On Seminoles podcast host. He and his crew always get down with the Noles with some great content. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do your due diligence. And if you have not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel here, Locked On ACC, we have a good time over here in the comment sections. That's all I'm going to say. So I love to, respond to comments. Sometimes my friends, my co-hosts respond to the comments as well. So if you ever feel like you want to have a good, solid, healthy conversation, got to make sure you include that, because some of y'all get crazy. Make sure you check us out there. You can follow us anywhere you listen to podcasts and on Twitter at Locked On ACC. So rounding out the show here, talking about baseball, as Drizzy Drake mentioned at the top of the show, FSU has a new baseball coach by way of South Bend. So talk to us a little bit about that and how that came to be.
So, for those of you that don't know, FSU recently parted ways with Mike Martin Jr. And that was something that's sort of a shock to many, because his father, Mike Martin, was the head coach for FSU baseball for approximately 30 to 35 years. He basically was our Bobby Bowden minus winning any championships. Actually, because FSU, unfortunately, has the most College World Series appearances without a national title.
Wow.
And we brought in a new athletic director, Michael Alford, who surprisingly decided to part ways with him a few weeks ago. And the one big name we always heard was Link Jarrett, primarily because Link Jarrett not only played at FSU under Mike Martin, he was roommates with Mike Martin Jr., the man he actually will be replacing. So
stop.
Yep.
Wait.
What? It is. Yep. The drama is there. It is awesome. But Link Jarrett.
So did Mike Martin Jr. wish him well, or no? No, probably not. Okay.
Listen, you can listen when we go to ACC Media Days. You can ask them yourself if you would like. I can also text them to all ask Alford. But overall, Link Jarrett is someone that was able to bring Notre Dame to basically the cusp of winning a national title with excellent pitching, timely hitting, and that's something that FSU has had for past few years. Very, very damn good pitching. The problem is, they have had a lot to be desired when it comes to actually the bats. Getting on base was lacking at a premium, and Link Jarrett is someone that can come in and rectify that. And also, Link Jarrett is someone that is very good on the recruiting trail. And one of his biggest recruits, who actually did not sign, was Mike Trout. And I think majority of y'all know, even if you don't follow baseball, who Mike Trout is. So with Link Jarrett coming in, he's coming in for a 7-year contract, making around $900K in the first 2 seasons. So we're back to the bring start for this guy. And this is not only a sign for how Alfred is committed to FSU baseball.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with soccer, with bringing over the coach of the year from the SEC in Tennessee. This is also a little bit of a warning shot to the FSU football program, too, to, hey, if you don't get your stuff together, we are going to be dropping some bags to get someone in here that will do the job.
Okay. Especially, I really feel like if Mario Cristobal has a solid season with Miami and he's able to, demolish or beat FSU, there's going to be some questions for Mike Norvell, but that's neither here nor there. But just want him to be on warning.
Oh yeah, I think that's it's a warning shot. It's like, hey, listen, this is year 3. We all dealt with COVID, but I'm not afraid to shake it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because also, Michael Alford knows how to raise money. He was one of the fundraising executives to help finance the Death Star, aka the new Cowboy Stadium in Dallas, Texas. He did the same thing in Oklahoma too, so he knows how to bring in the money.
Yeah.
So listen, if we make a change, well, he'll make a change.
A change gonna come, Sam Cooke style. All right, there's that. And if you guys did not know, Tommy White, former NC State, heavy hitter, is decided to take his house to LSU. So shout out to Locked On SEC. I know, stinker, but at the same time, best of luck to him. I'm shocked that he left, but I get it. At the end of the day, do what you got to do. And it's NC State. Just kidding. All right, so we love here to have a conversation always about all of our schools around the conference. And more importantly, we have some really good coverage around the NBA draft that will continue, but more so getting ready for the season. It's about to be July, people. Football is going to be in full swing. They're going to get ready for camps. All of those, strong conversations and predictions about what we've been pretty much alluding to for Atlantic and Coastal divisions is going to be in the thick of it. So make sure you guys check that out. Drizzy, Drake, where can these people find you to talk about the Knowles and all the good things coming that way?
You can follow me at Tally__Drake. You can follow my coach at MaxMovie17. You can follow the boomer of our podcast at FSU Knowles 5. That is it with a 0 and a 5. That's David Wise.
You don't stop talking about old people.
Listen, I'm going to call him old till the day he dies, which might be very soon because he's old. I'm joking. That's a joke.
Lord Jesus.
But you can follow the podcast at Knowles Anonymous. It's basically where we engage with our fans, get themes for our shows. And we are 64 days away from football. So, hey, we're almost there. It's the middle of the summer, but let's get to it.
Damn, I wish it was 69. That would have been a great end to
that
the
would be
show.
nice, right?
Y'all come back on Monday. Quentin Gibbs is finally in the building to record an episode with us, so we'll have a good time there. For Candace Cooper, Drizzy Drake, have a great weekend. Until next time.